Hi, this is Mrs. Earl with a short tutorial on graphing linear equations. Let's look at this first equation, negative 1/3 x plus 3. To graph it, we want to start by finding the y-intercept, which is the positive 3. And we're going to graph that on the y-axis. We're then going to look at the slope, which is negative 1/3. So if I start at the y-intercept, I go down 1, that's negative 1, and then positive 3, 1, 2, 3, which is 3 to the right, and make another point. I now can take my ruler, lay it along those 2 points, and here I have my line. You will notice the line has a negative slope because I had a negative 1/3. Let's look at a second example. This equation says y equals 4. But wait, where's the x? Well, there is no x, so really that means y equals 0x plus 4. Well, let's start by graphing the y-intercept. Once again, it is the 4. And also here y equals 4. But what if x is 1? Y is still going to be 4. What if x is 2? Y is still going to be 4. And now I can take my ruler and draw my line. And you'll see in this situation, it's a lovely horizontal line with a 0 slope. 0 slope. You can't say it has no slope because it does have slope. It's just 0 or flat. Let's look at a third example. Here's another equation. X equals negative 3. Well, wait, where's the y? Well, if x is negative 3 and y is 0, then we would put a point here. But if x is negative 3 and y is 2, we would put a point here. It might help to draw a t-chart to help understand this problem. X is always negative 3. Y could be 0, y could be 2, y could be just about anything, but x is always negative 3. If we draw our line, we'll see that the line is vertical. This line, we call it having an undefined slope. We can't determine the slope of this line. It's called undefined. Let's look at another example. In this case, we have y equals 5/3x. Let's start by plotting our y-intercept. But it doesn't show anything here, which means the y-intercept is 0. And now, if we plot our points, the slope is 5/3, which means up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 3, 1, 2, 3. We now take our ruler and draw our line. And this line has a slope of 5/3. Now just for fun, I could go backwards and go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be a negative 5. And then I could go to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, negative 3, which gives me a slope of negative 5/3. Well, if you remember from our integers unit, a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive. Negative 5 divided by negative 3 gives us a positive 5/3. And indeed, our slope has our line has a positive slope. Here's another equation for us to graph. But wait, it's not in slope-intercept form. So our first step is actually to rewrite the equation in the proper form. 6x plus 5y equals 20. I'm going to start by moving the 6x to the right-hand side of the equation. Subtract 6x from each side. And now I have 5y equals negative 6x plus 20. But I have too many y's over here. So the next step is to divide both sides by 5 so we get the y by itself. Now remember, when we divide both sides by y, we've got to divide everything on both sides. So on the left we have 5 divided by 5, leaving y by itself. But on the right, we have negative 6 divided by 5. Well, that doesn't work evenly, so we're just going to write negative 6 divided by 5 times x plus 20 divided by 5 is 4. And now we have our equation that we can graph. Let's start by marking the y-intercept, which is positive 4. And now we're going to go down 6 to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw our line. And we're done. Remember, it's negative 6 over 5. Let's look at another example. Here's another equation, but again, it's not in slope-intercept form yet. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. 7x plus y equals 5. I'm going to subtract 7x from each side, leaving the y by itself. So now I have y equals a negative 7x plus 5. Since there's only one y, we're ready to graph. Looking at the graph, we'll start with the y-intercept, which is positive 5. But then we're going to graph the slope, which is negative 7 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over 1. Taking our ruler, we're going to graph our line. And notice it's negative 7 over 1, which means we have a negative slope for this line. All right, our last two examples. In this example, we're given a coordinate pair and the slope, and we have to determine the line and the equation from this information. Let's start by graphing that point, 2, negative 4. So over 2, down to negative 4. Now my slope is negative 1, which means down 1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1. And here's my line. I'm going to want to draw this extremely carefully. So down 1 over 1. So if I'm writing my equation, y equals mx plus b, y equals negative 1x plus, but what's the y-intercept? If I look up here, I can see that it's a negative 2. Now I do want to check that to make sure that I am right. So I can start with a t-chart and I can substitute in. If I knew the first point was 2, negative 4, the next point was 3, negative 5. So what is 0 going to be? Well, let's see. 2, times negative 1 is 2. Let's go ahead and substitute in. Let me do this a little better. Okay. So let's substitute in and see. Y equals negative x minus 2, simplified. Well, if x is 2, and we want the negative, minus 2, does that equal negative 4? Yes, it does. Let's substitute the next one. Negative 5 for y, positive 3 for x, minus 2. Well, negative 3 and negative 2 do equal negative 5. They are equal. So we know that for the y-intercept, x is 0. So if I substitute a 0 in, negative 2, what's 0 minus 2? Negative 2. And indeed, our y-intercept is right here at negative 2, where the line crosses the y-axis. All right, here's our last example. Again, we're given 2 points. We're given a point and a slope. So let's start by graphing the slope. Graphing the point, which is negative 1, positive 2. This graph has a positive slope, so we know the line's going to go up to the right. The slope is 2, same as 2 over 1, so we're going to go up 2 over 1. We're going to draw our line. And now we're going to write our equation. You might want to start with the table again. X, y. We know this is the x, y coordinates, so negative 1, positive 2. When we went up 2 over 1, we ended up at 0, positive 4. And what if we went up again, up 2 over 1? I think I'm a little bit crooked. 1 would be positive 6. And our equation is y equals 2x plus 4. Hope this helps, and I'll see you in class.